All right, well, let's get started. In the latest in the expert update from Upwave, a series of webinars, Upwave's data science team today is launching a new white paper on a topic that has been front of mind in digital advertising for the last 18 to 24 months and has only become more urgent um, over the last 10 months with the rise of CTV advertising, and that's measuring the accuracy of audience targeting. So understanding the accuracy of audience targets that can usually be pretty opaque has been of increasing priority for trading desks, for advertisers. Um, but then even linear TV advertising accuracy in targeting has started to break down over the last year as the ad rating system has struggled to keep up with the shift in audiences to CTV. Well, today, Upwave is releasing, it's really the first ever in-depth study on the accuracy of audience targeting, both programmatic audiences as well as the accuracy of CTV. And this research initially is being presented in the form of a white paper. You can expect later on this year to see this type of data show up on the Upwave platform for Upwave subscribers for all of their campaigns. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Dr. Bo Dabbs, who leads Upwave's data science team, who's going to present this research. Over to you, Bo.
Thanks, Ken. So the white paper we're discussing today will help brands understand how to determine if a campaign is actually reaching the intended target audience. We'll also review some preliminary data examining how accurate brands and advertisers should expect targeting to perform. So being able to target specific subsets of the population is essential for modern brand campaigns. Creatives are designed to resonate with particular subsets of the population at large, and the success of a campaign can depend on the campaign's ability to reach that subset. Most campaigns will target custom audiences beyond just age and gender, but existing tools only provide age and gender breakdowns in target audiences. And this is because validating the degree to which you're reaching an audience like occasional DIYers across multiple channels is much more difficult than validating that you're reaching females over 40. But at Upwave, we're building tools to validate more complex audience targets like these. So determining the accuracy of targeting requires two key data points. First, the baseline percentage, which is the percentage of the total population made up of the custom audience. For example, the percentage of DIYers in America. And the second data point is what we call the in-target percentage, which is the percentage of a specific audience that is in the target population. So here, this might be the percentage of DIYers among consumers reached by your advertising campaign or reached on a specific platform in that campaign. And we'll evaluate the accuracy of a specific audience by comparing the baseline percentage to the in-target percentage. If the in-target percentage exceeds the baseline percentage, then the campaign is reaching the intended audience at a higher rate than it would without targeting. If instead the in-target percentage is below the baseline percentage, it suggests that the targeting tactic is reducing accuracy, and a run-of-market or untargeted campaign would be better at reaching the target population. Today, we're going to look at targeting accuracy rates and the variability of that accuracy between tactics. To do this, we identified 10 target populations across 6 different brand campaigns. For each campaign, we identified a primary target audience and also identified secondary target audiences for 4 of the 6 studies. And we're going to break our results down into 3 distinct levels. First, we'll look at the overall targeting accuracy to understand typical levels of accuracy for campaigns targeting distinct audiences. Then we'll look at the variability of that accuracy across targeting tactics within a campaign. And then finally, we'll break down the accuracy of targeting based on CTV and digital non-CTV audiences. So first up, we're looking at just the overall accuracy of campaigns. So in the diagram on the right, the x-axis represents the baseline percentage, and the y-axis is the increase in target percentage. So a value of 0 here on the y-axis means the in-target percentage was identical to the baseline percentage. So your targeting wasn't actually helping. So here you can see most campaigns see between 1 and 8 percentage points more consumers in their target population than in the population as a whole. But 4 campaigns had a lower in-target percentage, but only 2 of those were statistically distinguishable from the baseline percentage. So this means most campaigns are having modest success at reaching target audiences, but none of the campaigns are near perfect. So if we break these campaigns down into their constituent targeting tactics, we can see that there is a lot of variability and accuracy among those tactics. So in this plot, we're looking at the same campaigns and target populations, but each point in a vertical line corresponds to a single tactic for reaching the target population for one campaign. For example, this blue dot here is one tactic for this campaign, and it was the most effective tactic at reaching that target audience. It was actually quite small. So the most common increase in target percentage was between 0 and 5 percentage points, but most campaigns contain some tactics that performed really well, with 10 plus percentage point increases in target percentage. However, most campaigns also had some tactics that underperformed the baseline percentage. So this wide range of performances suggests there was a lot of room for optimization across different tactics of a campaign. And the last thing we consider is a comparison of the accuracy of targeting for CTV and digital audiences. So the plot on the right is a histogram showing the relative proportion of CTV and digital campaigns that achieved various increases in target percentage. And in general, we found that CTV audiences tend to be less accurate, with a large proportion of CTV audiences having in-target percentages indistinguishable from target population baselines. And the average increase in percentage in target population was 0.8 percentage points for CTV compared to a 3.6 percentage points for digital audiences. So there tended to be some signal for CTV, but it was weaker than for pure digital campaigns. I think the main takeaway from the analyses we've examined today is that custom audiences are never perfect because imperfections in our ability to track behavior online makes 100% accuracy impossible. However, the wide distribution in accuracy across audiences and tactics suggests there's lots of room for optimization in most campaigns. At Upwave, we're building software that allows brands and advertisers to monitor and optimize campaign performance in real time. Combining targeting verification data with brand lift data enables you to more precisely diagnose issues with underperforming campaigns and take action in real time before the campaign ends. Thanks everyone for attending. Hope you learned something new today, and we're happy to answer any questions. Back to you, Ken, for the questions. I think you're muted, Ken.
Thank you, Bo. If you have questions, please submit them into the Q&A. We have some that have come in already. So the first is, why are so many audiences only slightly better than random in accuracy?
So I think what's going on there is 2 factors. One is accurate target audiences isn't the only thing that campaigns are trying to optimize. So you might be focusing on something like reach instead of accuracy. So you want to hit as many people as possible. The second thing is it's possible that a lot of campaigns are targeted using proxies because you don't have good data on something like DIYers. It's hard to get that exactly. So you use proxies like age or gender, occupation, things like that. And it's possible that you have some weak connection between the proxies and what you really want to target. And you can target the proxies really well, but if that relationship isn't perfect, you might actually have a weak signal in targeting.
Right, right. So definitely, one dynamic that then can exacerbate that is if there's either a third-party audience or a first-party audience that has been scaled out with lookalike modeling, and that it could be scaled out either the first or third-party seed to be no better than random, or just a little better than random. This, obviously makes more money for the data intermediary, who's charging on a CPM basis, but ends up sort of being a waste of money if it really is no better than random. But Bo, sometimes even if an audience is, a couple percentage points better than random, that's actually a really good audience to target. Why would that be?
Yeah, so particularly for niche audiences. So if an audience sort of in the target population is very small, say 1 to 5% of the population, if you can increase 1 or 2 percentage points on top of that, that could be 100 or 200% more people in the audience that you're targeting.
Right.
And so that means if your ads really need to hit that target audience, sort of your ads on average are 2 or 3 times as effective. So you're saving that amount of money by targeting this audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Since we have Upwave introduced this targeting verification into its dashboard in the middle of last year, and we've seen a lot of audiences that have been, at 2, 3, 4% accuracy, which can seem like really bad news. But then when you look at the baseline and you see the baseline is, 1/10 of 1%, the census rep baseline, it's actually really, really good targeting accuracy when you consider how much you would have to pay just targeting run of network to reach the same number of people who are in target. So it's that census baseline, that second piece that Upwave subscribers will see appearing in their dashboard in the first half of this year. Second question, how do you suggest using targeting verification in conjunction with brand lift?
I think the main thing there is to diagnose what's going wrong. And so it's possible, say you have a simple target of men, just for an example. It's possible you can look at your brand lift and see that you're getting really good brand lift among men. So your advertising really is resonating with men, which is what you expected. But then you can go to your targeting verification tab and say, oh, this publisher that I thought was going to hit a ton of men actually isn't hitting men as often as I expected. So that suggests that the problem is your ability to reach men. And so maybe you should shift to other publishers that are more able to hit men, or look for new avenues, new opportunities for hitting men.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that's, whenever you get a mid-campaign read, this one of the things that's distinctive about the Upwave platform is that you get daily reads. So you get reads earlier in the campaign. When you see an underperforming tactic from a brand lift perspective, well, what do you do about it? And it takes a lot of work to do the analysis to look into like day parting and creative and domains, when usually the initial suspicion is, well, are we reaching the people that we intended to reach? And so you don't even want to look at that other stuff, until you validate this. And yeah, so, but then we also see some campaigns where reaching a target audience and driving brand lift are both equal priorities in terms of intended outcomes of the campaign. So, all right, well, we got a lot of excellent questions coming in here. How would you optimize if your in-target percentage is lower than the baseline?
If you see that it's lower than the baseline, I think you sort of have two options. So if it's lower than the baseline at the campaign level, it's likely that some of your tactics are doing better than baseline. So one thing you could do is try to shift spend toward those tactics or those platforms. Another thing that you could do is sort of shift to a run of network targeting tactic. So you're probably spending extra money to hit a specific target. And so if you can save money by doing run of network, you might be able to expand your reach and effectively hit more people in the audience at the same time. So that is an option if sort of you just can't seem to find any tactic that is effectively targeting your target audience more than a run of network target.
Yeah, why would an audience be worse than random? That seems like it should never happen.
I think it really has to do with these frequently scaled out audiences that are scaled out using proxies, not your exact target. And it could be that sort of under certain subsets of the population, a proxy works really, really well. But when you expand that to try to get a large reach of your target population, it doesn't hold for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Next question is, what do you think of the audience nutrition labels that the IAB is recommending? So I can take that. So yeah, the IAB, in response to the growing concerns around what is in these programmatic audiences, has come out with these nutrition labels. And I think our perspective at Upwave is that they are, they're good for what they are, but there's an audience can look great according to everything on the nutrition label and still actually be a pretty off-target audience. That at the end of the day, you have to open up the audience through some type of measurement to understand its accuracy. So for example, even understanding, we've seen deterministic audiences that are just not very accurate, and that's because somewhere along the line, inevitably, there was some kind of scaling out that made it not deterministic. So we've seen that multiple times. All right, next question is, this looks like what many people have long suspected, I see in terms of the, a lot of audiences are not as accurate as we thought they were. But does this transparency around audience accuracy result in pushback and tension when people see it? So agencies have long suspected this, advertisers have long suspected it. But when people see this in the Upwave dashboard, does it result in pushback, in tension, in drama? I think I can take this one. It does sometimes. I would say there's two dynamics here. One is that it depends how early in the campaign this is noticed. So when this is not noticed until the end of the campaign and there's nothing you can do about it, then then there can be defensive all around. Who selected this audience? But if it's noticed earlier in the campaign, when you can use it as part of an ongoing collaborative dialogue with your media partner, with your data partners, then it can actually help improve the relationship by bringing more data to bear. But the second thing is, this is just like the early days of viewability. In the early days of viewability, people suspected that a lot of ads were not viewable, but they had no data. And so when the first viewability data came out, there was pushback, and it created a lot of tension. Now it's just viewed as table stakes. And so this type of targeting verification measurement is sort of in the same state as viewability was back then. Let's see. How do you recommend setting expectations about the accuracy of targeting with brand and marketing stakeholders, especially those who have drunk the Kool-Aid of one-to-one addressability?
So I think the real thing to do there is, and we'll be doing this in the near future, is establishing norms. So once you have norms, then you have something to compare it to. And that's sort of part of one of the reasons we wanted to go ahead and have this talk, is just to say, sort of, perfect is not the norm, and sort of open up the conversation to, well, what is the norm? And so we'll be sort of calculating norms based on sort of hundreds of surveys across our platform, and that will help set expectations up front too.
That's right. That's a very good point. Yeah, there is a narrative out there that with one-to-one addressability, we should expect these audiences to be 100% accurate. And the truth is, none of these audiences, even the most deterministic audiences, are 100% accurate. So what's important is to understand the baseline, the census rep baseline, and then also to look at the reach that you're getting with different audiences, to then see, okay, this is how much I would be paying to reach people with random targeting, and then this is how much I'm paying to reach people, with this audience. And there's going to be a precision versus recall trade-off there, and you factor in the cost, and then see whether this is still an audience that's worth targeting. All right. Well, that was a great set of questions that came in. And with that, I think we will wrap it up, and we encourage people to come check out our next expert update with Upwave, which will be a doozy in 2 weeks. And it's going to be all on privacy. And what are your options for measurement with the loss of cookies, IDFA. We will pull back the kimono on what are all the different options that are on the table, and the pros and cons of each. So thanks for joining.